The night sky was still, lit only by dim streetlights that cast a pale glow on the pavement where Liana Cruz walked briskly along the roadside. Her steps were hurried, heavy, but her heartbeat pounded faster than her feet could carry, like it wanted to break free. She had just run away from her family's mansion, a palace of privilege that had become her gilded cage. The cold night air bit through her thin sweater, stinging the flawless skin that had never known the roughness of real life. But Liana didn't care. Her fingers clutched tightly onto a small bag, the only thing she'd brought. Inside were a few clothes and a stash of hidden cash she'd saved for months. Credit cards? Not a chance. Her parents would freeze them the moment they realized she was gone. This is the freedom you wanted. Right, Liana? She muttered to herself, but her hands were trembling. She had no plan, no destination, just a longing to live like a normal person. No forced galas, no matchmaking brunches, no suffocating gazes. Tonight, she chose herself, and she knew there was no turning back. Liana waved down a dull silver taxi that rolled slowly toward her. She hopped in quickly, not noticing the cold eyes of the driver watching her through the rearview mirror. Falling might just be the first step to freedom, she whispered to herself. The ride had barely lasted 10 minutes before the taxi suddenly stopped on a dark, empty road. Before Liana could question it, two strange men opened the doors and got in, one on each side, boxing her in. Her heart thudded violently in her chest. Every instinct screamed. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaky. No one answered. Something cold and metallic pressed against her side. "Stay calm, sweetheart," one of them whispered. "Hand over your bag. Don't make this messy." "No," she clutched it tightly. "I need that. The money is everything I have." The man on her right snarled and yanked the bag from her grip. She cried out, but there was no one nearby. No one to hear. The driver remained silent, unmoved. Liana's eyes widened in horror. They were in it together, and she had walked straight into their trap. The taxi screeched away, leaving Liana on her knees by the roadside, hands trembling, face pale. Tears mixed with dust streamed down her cheeks. She screamed, "Help me!" But the night wind was her only reply. Then, footsteps. She turned sharply, vision blurred, and saw a tall man walking slowly toward her. Leather shoes, flawless suit. He didn't look like someone from these streets. "Are you all right?" His voice was deep, calm. Liana backed away instinctively. "Who are you? Are you one of them?" He frowned slightly, stepping closer but keeping distance. "My name's Damien. I saw those men running off with the bag. Yours?" She nodded, throat tight. "I can help," Damien said. "But not here. You need shelter, food, safety, and he paused, "just so happen to need someone to clean my house." Liana stared, a strange offer, on a dark street. But she had nothing. No money, nowhere to go, no choices left. "If you try anything, I'll kick your face in," she warned. Damien smiled faintly. "Fair enough. Now, come on. I'll drive." The luxury car stopped in front of a towering iron gate. Liana's jaw dropped at the mansion behind it. Massive, regal, and somehow even more extravagant than her own home. "You actually live here?" "Not live," Damien replied. "I own it." Liana didn't answer. She still couldn't process the fact that she, a girl who'd just been mugged, was about to become a maid in some billionaire stranger's estate. The next morning, she was awakened by a deep voice. "Time to rise, new maid." Liana groaned. "I don't even know how to hold a mop." Damien led her around the mansion, explaining each area. "Simple chores, cleaning, organizing, cook if you can. I don't expect much. Just don't burn the place down." Before he even finished that sentence, she dropped the mop on his foot. "Ow, I told you, I'm not ready," she panicked. Later, in the kitchen, she fiddled with the vacuum. Things were going fine until the hose latched onto Damien's pant leg. "Turn it off," he shouted, wrestling the vacuum back. "For God's sake." "I'm sorry, I was just following my instincts." Damien sighed, staring at the ripped fabric. "Maybe I should start you with toy versions first." Despite the chaos, there was a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Leona, meanwhile, wished the floor would swallow her whole. "Please don't fire me." "Not yet," Damien replied. "I'm not out of patience, just out of pants." Leanna thought the worst was over, until the next morning, when she knocked on Damien's door to call him for breakfast. She reached for the handle when the door swung open, and Damien stepped out, wrapped in nothing but a white towel, hair still dripping. Leanna froze. Time slowed. Every drop of water rolling down his sculpted chest seemed to dare her heart to beat faster. Breakfast," she stammered, staring at the ceiling. "I made eggs. Broken ones. Sunny side up." Damien raised an eyebrow, holding back a grin. "Thanks. Let's hope they're not burnt." "No promises." She turned to flee the disaster, but her foot caught the rug. She stumbled, nearly face-planting, until Damien caught her with one strong arm. They were close, so close she could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Damien looked into her eyes. "You okay?" Yeah, not really. I think I'm scrambled." He slowly let her go, not in a rush. "Be more careful. I won't always catch you." The rest of the day, Leanna couldn't stop thinking about that moment. His arm, that look, and the way her heart had danced inside her chest. Something had shifted. Something had begun. The next morning, Liana had just finished setting the table when Damien walked in, sleeves of his white shirt rolled up, looking slightly rushed, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of hesitation. "Tomorrow night," he began, "is the 50th anniversary gala of my family's company." Leanna nodded slightly. "Sounds big." "It is," Damien replied, "and I need someone to go with me." She looked up. "You mean me?" He nodded. "I don't trust anyone else, and you could help me avoid the clingy debutantes." Liana blinked. "I'm your maid, not your emotional bodyguard." "Just one night," Damien said, then smirked. "I'll hire a stylist, dress, shoes, everything will be taken care of." She hesitated. "I'm not used to that. Aren't you afraid I'll embarrass you?" He paused, then said gently, "You couldn't embarrass me, trust me." Leanna looked down at her hands, heart fluttering for reasons she didn't understand. I'll go," she whispered. At the gala, Liana wore a sleek black silk gown, her hair in a soft bun, makeup flawlessly done, but her eyes kept shifting. The stares, the murmurs. It was suffocating. "You okay?" Damien leaned in to ask. "I need some air," she whispered, slipping away from the crowded ballroom. Liana stepped onto the rooftop. The breeze fluttered through her dress, cold but oddly comforting. She breathed in deeply, gazing at the city lights glittering below. Hiding from the party, Damien's voice came from behind. "Just needed a breather," she murmured. He approached slowly, silent for a moment. Then, "There's something I need to confess." Liana turned. His eyes were serious, earnest. "I knew about you before," he began. "I saw you at an event a year ago. You left a mark I couldn't forget. I had someone follow you. I knew you'd run, and I staged that robbery. But I regret it every day since." Liana's heart froze. "You? What?" "I know it was wrong," Damien said quickly. "But if I hadn't, would we have ever met?" "You lied to me," she choked. "You turned me into your game." "It wasn't a game, it was love." She stepped back, her world unraveling, shocked, betrayed. But something else trembled inside her too. The rooftop fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the wind brushing through Liana's hair and gown. She stood with her back to Damien, struggling to contain the storm of emotions crashing inside her. Her heart ached as if gripped in a fist. "You staged everything," she whispered, her voice cracking. "You knew me. watched me, pushed me into that moment, just to bring me into your world. Because you had already left yours, Damien replied, voice soft but unwavering. And I just wanted to walk beside you, even if I did it the wrong way. Leanna turned around. Her eyes were red, glistening with tears, but the fury had begun to fade, replaced by conflict. A part of her wanted to scream. The other just wanted to collapse into his arms. You don't get it, she said. I ran away to escape control, to decide for myself. Then you showed up, with another plan, another manipulation. I get it, Damien nodded. And if you can't forgive me, I'll understand, but my feelings, they weren't part of the plan. Every day with you was real. A tear rolled down Liana's cheek. She stepped toward him slowly, but with purpose. I'm angry, really angry, she said, but I also can't deny I've never seen someone fight this hard just to stay near me. She looked up, straight into his eyes. I don't need you to be perfect, Damien. I just need you to be honest. He paused, then reached for her hand, holding it gently, as if afraid she might vanish. I promise, he whispered. No more lies, just us. And beneath the soft city lights, amid wounds not yet healed, a first real love finally found where to begin. Liana didn't leave that night. Though her heart wrestled with doubt, one thing felt undeniably true: how she felt when she was with Damien. He didn't beg, didn't make excuses. He simply said, if you want to go, I won't stop you. But if you stay, I'll show you. Everything after that lie was real. And he kept his word. The next day, Liana wasn't mopping floors or clearing tables. Instead, she was sitting at the dining table, filling out her application for medical school. A dream once crushed by her parents now felt alive again. Damien didn't interfere. He simply sat beside her, silent and steady like a fortress behind her back. When she got accepted, he was the one who took her to buy books, pick out school supplies, and patiently waited while she searched for the exact sticky notes she liked. A week later, Liana said quietly, I want to go home. Damien looked surprised but didn't question it. He only said, I'll go with you. That day, Damien's car pulled up outside the Cruz estate. Her parents nearly broke down in tears seeing their daughter step out, stronger, more confident than ever. Her mother embraced her tightly. We're sorry, Liana. And I'm sorry I left, she whispered. Damien stood behind her. When the family had settled, he finally spoke. My name is Damien Velasquez. I didn't just bring Liana home. I came to ask for your permission to be with her, sincerely, respectfully. Liana's father studied him in silence. Then he nodded. All we want is for our daughter to be happy. Everything began anew. She relearned how to live, not as a princess, not as a maid, but as herself. She woke early, packed her own books, studied late at night, and tried to make sense of endless medical terms with the pink highlighter Damien gifted her for her first day of school. One evening, over a meal she cooked herself, no burns, no eggshells for once, Damien asked, Why medicine? Lena looked up, spoon still in hand. Because I want to heal others and myself. He didn't say anything. He just smiled, the kind of smile he rarely gave anyone. Day by day, he drove her to school every morning, waited beneath the same old tree every evening. Sometimes he had meetings, but he'd still text, Wait for me. I don't want you walking home alone. He didn't need to say I love you every day, but Liana understood. Love was presence. It was choosing to stay even when you didn't have to. She once believed freedom meant running away. Now she knew freedom was choosing someone with whom you no longer had to pretend to be strong. The graduation ceremony was held in a grand auditorium, glowing with bright lights, echoing applause, and bursts of celebration. Liana stood among rows of students in deep navy gowns, caps straight, eyes sparkling with unshed tears. It was a day she once thought she'd never reach, the day she officially became a doctor. Down in the front row, Damien sat in a pale gray suit, composed and cool as ever. But his eyes never left her. Her name was called Liana Cruz Velasquez. She blinked. Velasquez. But before she could react, the room erupted in cheers. She stepped onto the stage, accepting her diploma from the dean with both hands. Then, the music stopped. The lights faded. A single spotlight held her in place. She turned to the right and saw Damien walking up the steps, holding a bouquet of pure white roses. The crowd murmured in anticipation. Liana stood frozen. Damien stopped in front of her, slowly kneeling down. Silence swept the hall. "Liana," his voice was deep and slightly shaking, "you came into my life like a storm. You turned everything upside down. I once planned everything, tried to control it all, but the one thing I never expected was falling in love with you. Truly." He opened a small velvet box, his hand slightly trembling. Inside lay a simple, elegant ring, its diamond catching the spotlight like a quiet promise. "You didn't just save yourself, you saved me too. You taught me that love doesn't need to be perfect, just honest." He looked up at her, eyes full of hope. "Liana Cruz, will you marry me?" She covered her mouth, tears spilling over, but they were tears of joy. She nodded quickly, then laughed between sobs. "Yes, I will. I will, Damien." The room exploded in applause. Confetti rained down from above. Damien stood, wrapping her in a tight embrace, kissing her lips. Gentle, fiery, certain. That day she didn't just graduate. She turned the new page. As a doctor, and as a woman completely undeniably loved. In the golden hush of sunset, Liana and Damien were finally wed by the sea. Not in front of a crowd, but among hearts that mattered. Only their closest loved ones attended. No grandeur, no spectacle, just pure sincerity. Liana wore a simple white gown, eyes glowing with joy. Damien looked at her like she was the only person left in the world, because, to him, she was. As they exchanged vows, the ocean breeze carried each word gently. "I promise to love you not only in peace, but through every storm. Always." Their first kiss as husband and wife drew cheers and laughter. A new life had begun. Months later, their hillside home was filled with laughter. Liana was now a medical resident, and Damien had stepped back from some work to be more present. They shared every meal, every quiet moment, every welcome home hug. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the windows, Liana rested her head on Damien's shoulder and whispered, "You know, I finally understand. Real love doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real." He squeezed her hand gently. "And you are the most real and beautiful thing I've ever known." They looked at each other, saying nothing more. They didn't need to. They had found home in each other.